A little over a year ago, a band called Spiritbox that I had never heard of before released their debut single called Holy Roller. That song absolutely blew me away, and since then I've been waiting for their full-length album, and finally that time is here. So today I can finally say that I will be listening to Eternal Blue, the debut album by the awesome metal band Spiritbox. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another album review / reaction here on my channel. If you've never seen any of my videos like this on my channel before, know that basically what I'm going to be doing is talking a little bit about Spiritbox and sort of this album as a whole, my sort of expectations leading into it at the beginning of the video here. Then I'm going to hit play at the beginning of the album and listen all the way through from front to back without pausing for the very first time while giving you my thoughts, everything I'm thinking and hearing in real time. So that's going to be a bulk of the video, and then after we're done with the album, I will be doing sort of an overall sort of album review or sort of overview of the album, the whole tracks, everything I've been thinking the whole time. So with that in mind, in the description of this video, I will include timestamps to those different sections, including each individual track. So if you have a favorite track on this album you'd like to hear my thoughts or see my reaction to, you can skip right to that. So just like I said, check in the description, you'll find those different timestamps. Also in the description, I will include a link to listen along with me to this album on Spotify if you want to. I will not be including any actual audio from the album in this video. Doing one song here or there for reaction videos is totally cool, but I think a whole album is pushing it way too far, and I don't want to have any copyright issues, and I don't want to take anything away from the band as well. So just know that link to listen along on Spotify will be there in the description. Obviously, if you have your own copy of the album, throw it on and listen along with me. I think that's probably the funnest way to watch these videos of mine. I do recommend that you have heard the album before you watch this video, just because I think you'll probably get a bit more enjoyment out of it. However, if you want to listen along for the first time with me, that's cool. Though in this case, I doubt that would be the case, because this album came out as of the day I'm recording this. This album came out 6 days ago. It took that long for my copy of the CD to get here in the mail, and I have resisted listening to it on Spotify or looking anything up online. I saw a couple of people online just saying that they really liked the album, and that gave me a lot of hope, though my expectations for this album are very high, which I will get to in a second. However, before we get to Spiritbox, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention, and one of those is that in prepping for this video, I looked online and I saw that as of September 2nd last year was the very first album reaction I did like this on my channel. And I think that Spiritbox was one of the bands that sort of, and Spiritbox and the different reaction channels that were reacting to Spiritbox were one of the sort of like things that I watched that really got me into reaction videos last year and inspired me to start doing this sort of video, I guess, on my channel. So I just thought that was kind of cool, and I wanted to point that out, that I've been doing this now for a year, and I haven't been doing a ton of it, and my channel is a very small channel. I assume that most people watching this will probably be watching my channel for the very first time, and you just know that I usually get about 30 to 50 views on my videos, and depending on the band and the popularity of the band, some videos I'll get more views. I did an Evanescence video earlier in the year, reaction to their brand new album, and that one got, I think, the most views I have on my channel of this sort of video. I think it was like 1,500 views at this point. But what I'm trying to say is my channel is very small, and so I do appreciate you being here to listen along with me. And I just thought it was kind of a fun thing to mention that I have been doing this for about a year. And it's fun to go back and look at those first videos because they're much shorter. I talked way less about things, though. Anyone that knows me knows that I like to talk quite a bit, so this format suits me just fine. But anyway, the other thing that I wanted to mention that also has nothing to do with Spiritbox, but if you were to go back and look at any of those old videos on my channel, you would see that in the background of a lot of the videos, I had usually like a pumpkin or a gourd or something in the background, and I think in one of the videos, I'm not sure exactly which band or which album's video it was, I kind of talked about the sort of the pumpkin that I had and then these gourds that we got from this sort of like local pumpkin patch we have here around where I live in Nebraska. But I wanted to just mention that I have this gourd. Well, actually, it's a squash. I believe it's called the gooseneck squash. But I have these two gooseneck squashes, and then behind me here I have this pumpkin. And I wanted to just say that these two squash and this pumpkin back there are all, they were all grown from seeds of those gourds and pumpkins that you saw, that you can see in the background of some of my older videos. And so I just thought that was kind of a fun thing that I wanted to mention. But we've never grown squash or pumpkins in our garden, and they just exploded this year. And these really cool, like I said, gooseneck squash, we have picked over 100 of these for sure. We have sort of a local business that's using them. But I just think they're really cool looking. And like I said, they just came from seeds from the cool gourds and pumpkins that we had in the background of my videos last year. So again, I know that has nothing to do with Spiritbox, but just something kind of fun to think about while reminiscing, about my channel and different things that have been happening over the last year. It's fun that we're in fall. I'm very excited about this time of year and everything. Okay, so Spiritbox. Like I mentioned, I last year, because of coronavirus, like a lot of people, staying in, not doing too much, I got really into the reaction scene on YouTube. And it started when I started to find some videos of people reacting to one of my all-time favorite songs from one of my all-time favorite bands, Ghost Love Score by the band Nightwish. And I really got super hardcore into the reaction scene, and I was watching all these different channels do all these different reactions to bands and things, and mostly Nightwish at first, and then sort of expanding into other bands that I already enjoyed. And for the most part, if I saw a band that I didn't know, I wouldn't click on the video and watch it. But one of the channels that I think... Actually, it was several channels. I started to see Spiritbox pop up, and the thumbnail was always like people like reacting crazy, and I was like, what is this that I keep seeing pop up on these different channels that I enjoy? And I think it was Tank the Tech, who is a YouTuber, a great, amazing person. Absolutely one of my favorite channels on YouTube. I'll put a little video of him up here talking in one of his videos. But I highly recommend him if you haven't checked him out. He's a very intelligent person who knows a lot about the music industry from a live performance standpoint, so it's very fun to hear him talk about that. Plus, he's just been a big metalhead, since he was young, and he has a lot of great insights into different things as he's hearing them for the first time, and so I really love that. But I think he is one of the few channels that I subscribe to in terms of reaction channels, and Spiritbox floated up with Holy Roller on his channel, and I thought, you know what, I've been seeing Spiritbox, these other channels watch some Spiritbox stuff, and so I clicked on it and I watched it, and I was absolutely blown away. And I finished his video, and then I just went and found the actual music video for Holy Roller, and I watched it a couple times in a row, which I never do. For people who know me, they know that I try never to ever listen to something right away after it's done. Like you always try to have a little bit of a palate cleanser, if you will. Listen to an album, then listen to something else. Never, ever, ever listen to the same album twice in a row. Anyway, I loved everything about it. I loved everything that I was seeing and hearing, and especially hearing. And it got me really excited. And then over the weeks and weeks and weeks after that song was released, more and more channels started reviewing or reacting to it. And anytime I would see anyone reacting to it, I would try to watch it because I just loved watching people's reactions to it. Well, so then, of course, they came out with their second song. I think it was their second song. Now I'm sort of second guessing myself as to what came out first, but for sure Holy Roller is the one that came out and sort of exploded their popularity. But they had the other song come out, which I don't even know what this title of it was, but it's the one that Courtney, the vocalist for Spiritbox, first did that sort of live in studio, her doing one vocal take through the whole line, and that's the video where at the end she does the whole very famous "I did it" line, which is amazing and totally cool, and made me fall in love with her even more than I had just hearing their amazing music and seeing her talent in that video. Then she did the one for Holy Roller, and anyway, you guys all know this. You're familiar with Spiritbox, but I think that what I'm trying to say is that I haven't been this pumped for like a debut album in a long time. There are a lot of things about the few songs. I think I've only heard 2 full songs off this album. They were both the songs that they released last year with the music videos. And then I stopped listening. I knew that I know they've had some other singles come out since then, but I stopped listening after that second one. And that was the one I need to, you know what? Let's just open the package. I should have got some scissors. I'll be right back with some scissors. Hold on. So, one thing I will say while I'm opening this, I have been so disappointed in Amazon, and I know I chose the free shipping option. I do not have Amazon Prime. I only order over $25 worth of stuff to get the free shipping every time. So like, I know I'm not priority customer, but usually if I order something off of Amazon, it takes like maybe 2 or 3 days to get here. So I was hoping maybe since I pre-ordered the album that if they shipped it, you know, I know sometimes they ship stuff to try to get like pre-orders out early so that they can get to the person on the day that it comes out. I know the whole shipping thing is a little bit wonky, but it's the Thursday after the album came out. So the album's been out for 6 days. So I feel a little bit bummed that I hadn't got this earlier, but oh yeah. Look at that. I did not know that the album was going to have a slipcase on it. That is so cool, and I'm so happy it does. There's a sticker on the front too, which is going to get torn off if I break the whole thing. But you know what? Who cares about the stickers? It just says the highly anticipated debut album from Spiritbox, featuring the singles Holy Roller, Secret Garden, and more. Now, I know I have not heard the song Secret Garden, and I'll get to that in a second. I believe the song that I heard. Now I'm second guessing myself. I want to say Circle With Me was the other song that I heard. I think if you're watching this video and you're familiar with Spiritbox and their different songs, you probably know which one I'm talking about. But anyway, I have intentionally kept myself in the dark about anything else to do with this album, including when they were releasing new videos or new songs over basically since the beginning of 2021. Back at the end of 2020, when I was filming my top 12 albums of the year, which is something I do every year here on my channel, I think that there's a clip I can play of this. Let me play a clip here of what I said about this album back then. That's the same thing with this. It's basically the same key, the same thing the whole time. It's just heavy the whole time, but they still managed to create a song with this amazing, creepy atmosphere with incredible vocals. That band only has 4 songs out as far as I know right now. I assume they're all going to make it on their album. I assume it's going to be album of the year next year. Spoiler alert. Like, I would be shocked if it's not in my top 12. So without seeing that clip before I edited into here, I'm assuming what I said, if I remember correctly, was that I think this album could be album of the year. And here we are, it's September. We've already had what I consider to be a fantastic year of new music coming out. We had a lot of people that I feel like were maybe extra productive or had a little bit of an extra giddy up to their step because of the coronavirus being stuck in. People were writing songs left and right, and we got a lot of cool, surprising albums from bands that I don't know if we would have gotten these albums from these bands. Like Modest Mouse is a good example. They wrote a whole album, recorded it during coronavirus, and we got it this year, and I don't think that would have happened had the coronavirus, not and the quarantine and everything not been in effect. Now, we also know that negatively affected certain albums, like Evanescence, for example, which I'm not going to get into all that stuff. But anyway, what I'm saying is we've had a fantastic year, and up until this point, I think my album of the year has been a band called Walking Papers that released their 3rd album this year, and I really, really, really enjoyed that album. And that's kind of what I've been saying has been my number 1 album. But I've been waiting for something to just sort of like blow my socks off. And we've come close with a lot of albums that I've really enjoyed throughout the year, like I said. But I've been waiting for this album. I was really hoping that we would get a full-length album from Spiritbox. And that's something I wanted to touch on too, Spiritbox with Holy Roller and the reaction culture becoming much, much, much bigger last year because everyone's staying in. They sort of caught lightning in a basket, if you will. They caught this extreme moment in time, and they used it to their fullest, I think. And I don't know if they were prepared to all of a sudden be sort of like catapulted into popularity as fast as they were. But when they released Holy Roller, it was the perfect sort of combination of having a great video with great song where everybody was reacting to Ginger and Nightwish and all these different things where ladies are screaming. And so to have a song like this come out and to have it be the way that it was lightning in a bottle. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Catching lightning in a basket. They caught lightning in a bottle. And I feel like they did a really good job releasing little things here and there. And again, I didn't follow them too much because I didn't want to know too much about them before I got to hear the album. And also, I'm the kind of person that doesn't tend to know everything about the different artists and the bands that I love. I tend to focus more on the music. Just to get that out there. So I don't know everything about Courtney and her whole life and her history with music and everything. I do know that she used to be in I Wrestled a Bear Once, which when I first heard that, I was like, dude, no way. I have the first two I Wrestled a Bear Once albums, and I think that they're really interesting and different and not necessarily fully my style, but they're really cool. And the vocals on them were all over the place and crazy. But then I found out that she was the singer that replaced the first singer from I Wrestled a Bear Once, which is the lady that I believe I have on their first two albums. So I have not heard any I Wrestled a Bear Once that she sang on. So I'm not familiar with that at all. And I don't even know who the other two guys are in the band with her. I believe there's two other people that help with making the songs and everything. But I think that the point I was trying to get at with the lightning in a bottle comment was that they had this perfect storm of ingredients come together to make them super popular. And the thing is, they wouldn't have had to go into the studio and record a full album like this. I thought they were just going to continue to sort of like leak singles out into the world slowly at a trickle. And until they had enough, songs, and then maybe release the album digitally. Like, we are no longer living in the age of physical music, which really bums me out as a person that I have thousands of CDs at this point, and all of them I know exactly where they are, how they're organized. I know every song on every one of them, basically, and I cherish my CDs and my CD collection, and I have lots of vinyl as well. So I'm a big physical media guy, but when I found out that Spiritbox was releasing an album and that they were considered a big enough artist in the world of music to justify having a physical copy release with actual push marketing behind them and everything, I think that's really great. And it helps give me more hope that this is going to be as good as I hope it can be. So with all that being said, I think one of the other things I wanted to mention was one of the other reasons that I'm really excited for this is because Holy Roller, I think, is a really special song for lots of reasons. It's super intense, and Courtney's vocals are really great. She does the screams, the growls, she changes up her format. They don't have a ton of overdubbing in the vocals, which is interesting. There's no clean vocals on the track at all, which is super, super interesting. And I think what happened was them releasing that, and I think I read in an interview at one point, Courtney was saying something about after they released that song, and that kind of got to be what they were known for, obviously the sort of duality in the video of the sort of the light and the dark and this creepy sort of evil satanic almost looking imagery with the really flowery, cool, not super colorful, like drained of color almost look. It was a very cool aesthetic that they had going. That wasn't necessarily the aesthetic of the band that they were going to go for and everything. And so their second song, which I'm pretty sure was Circle With Me, that song, it's almost all singing until there's a little bit of screaming, I believe, after the second chorus. And then the ending of the song is the cool part we all know, I'm sure, with the stops, where she does the screaming and then everything stops and then comes in and screams again and stops and then screams again. Really cool, very brutal, heavy, awesome riff, cool moment, great vocals from her. So keeping that sort of heavy aesthetic, but with a lot more singing. And then before they released their song Secret Garden, I think this is where I read the interview with her talking about how she was worried about how people would maybe receive it because it was a different type of song. And I never heard that song. I still have not heard that song. And I'm really, really excited to hear it today for a reason I'll get to in just a second. But I'm assuming that song was more of a ballad, or at least if not a ballad, considerably less heavy than Holy Roller, which I will assume is probably the heaviest song on this album. And so it's just so interesting. I don't really know of another case of this happening throughout music history here, where a metal band releases a song that's becomes popular and is their first single and is their heaviest song. Again, I'm assuming here that it's their heaviest song. But for them to release a super heavy song with no clean vocals in it, and to have that be the thing that sort of gets them, catapulted into the stratosphere popularity-wise, and then to have people stay around when they started releasing stuff with her singing a lot more. And then I think they gained actually a lot more fans with people seeing her singing, and it was a brilliant move on their part to release those one-track vocal takes of her doing those songs. Amazing. Rule of Nines. Is that the name of the song? Is that song on here? Maybe that song's not even on here. Maybe I haven't heard Circle With Me. I thought it was Rule of Nines. I have received the rule of nine. Okay, well, we'll see. I'm anxious to see now if that song's on here. But anyway, I digress. I know I'm rambling a lot here, but I'm sort of gathering my thoughts, putting my ducks in a row before I get to listen to this, because I want to make sure that my head is in the right headspace for this, because I don't want this album to disappoint me because I'm thinking of it as something that it's probably not going to be. I do not think this album is going to be, balls to the wall, hardcore, heavy, brutal music the entire time. I do not think that that's the case. However, based off of Holy Roller, what I do think that this album, I really hope this album is going to be, cross all my fingers and toes and anything I can cross. I hope that this album has a personality that extends to the music beyond just drums, bass, and vocals. And this is something I talk about on my channel here, on all of my other reactions. It is that one of the most important parts to music to me is what I refer to as the sprinkles that are put on top of the song. So first of all, I want every band to approach, it's cool if you make a concept album and every song sort of connects, but I think it's important to have a variety within songs and from song to song. And I think one way to help do that, and even within an individual song, by the way, one way to do that is to include sounds and different production aspects to your music that gives your song a character. And when you look at Holy Roller specifically, that song has character in spades. It has character all over the place. If you don't think of the visuals from the video, which we all saw probably heard the music for the first time with the visuals. So for me, I can speak for me only. For me, the visuals of that song are so intrinsically tied to what it sounds like. But if you just think of the song by itself, the way it starts out with that sort of it's like sort of what is that sound? It's not really the sound of a guitar. It's some sort of like a percussive element almost. And then you also have behind that, you have this sort of white noise frequency sort of mash together, and it's got like a bit of a high frequency thing on it, but it's just very short little staccato-y notes. And those elements weren't created using a guitar, bass, drum, whatever. Okay, so what am I talking about? I'm talking about the elements to that song in particular that are not drums, bass, guitar, vocal. And I think those elements are what truly make that song special and what makes me in particular excited for this album. I think that when they were putting that song together, they put a lot of effort into giving that song its own unique feel and almost this atmosphere to it. There's a lot of pads and drone-y things happening throughout the duration of that song. As long as things are going in that song, there's drones and all sorts of these like almost eerie sounds happening in the background, and they're pretty constant because the rest of the song is so intense. You have the riff, ba-da-dum dum ba-da-dum dum da-dum ba-da-dum dum ba-da-dum dum ba-dum ba-da-dum dum, like you have the riff. That's a really cool riff, and the production is fantastic. The kick drum sounds great. The guitars sound huge and thick and heavy. It's intentionally made to sound a specific way. The guitars aren't going ba-da-dum-dum-dum, like they're not doing lead stuff. It is a riff-driven song, and the riff is just a chuggy, sort of genty sounding metal riff. It's not meant to be a lead part. And so when you have that, you have the guitars making this single frequency, the bass making this single low, chugging, booming frequency. Then they have these synth pads, these droning pads over the top, and then her screaming vocal sitting there in the middle. The song has this cool, creepy, crazy atmosphere before you even get to the visuals. So then their other song that I heard, which I think now that I'm pretty sure is called Rule of Nines, which means I don't know if it's on here. But that song had a lot of cool atmospheric things, synth pads, string pads, things like that in it as well. And then she had her clean vocals with lots of overdubs. She had a lot of different vocal overdub parts. And so all of this tells me that these people are willing to sit down and craft a song. They don't just go into the studio, play the song, record it, and call it a day. They want to craft a song, and they are putting things in their music. Again, this is just with the 2 songs that I've heard so far, and I'm really hoping that this album follows through with this, and stays true to this, what I'm talking about here. I want every song to have its own character and its unique individual aspects that's only in that song that help each song have its own atmosphere and sort of feeling to it. Now, that doesn't mean that songs can't sound similar. And of course, I want there to be, I want it all to sound like one album and not necessarily, how many tracks are on here. Ooh, 12 songs? Heck yeah. I don't want it to sound like 12 different bands. But... oh, man. Oh, great. Sorry. This is the image that I've seen online for the album quite a bit. This sort of like blue wave. I assume it's sort of blue paint or something. I really like having this sort of the little copyright logo down here on the front. Also on the back. The times of the songs are there. Very nice. Sorry, I know I was in the middle of talking, but I couldn't wait before I opened this anymore. So right here on the disc, it says total time 43 minutes and 7 seconds. That's very cool to have that information on here. And the book feels very substantial. It is a thick book. Oh, yeah. Oh, cool. Yes. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is just the effort they put into the packaging here tells me that I think that my thoughts are going to my hopes are going to be realized in true musical form here. I think the amount of effort that they put into this, look at this. So here's the first page of the book here. And then if I turn it, this is a see-through sort of like almost wax paper page here. It's like just a cool little transition page. But just having that is so cool. And then we get into the songs. So track 1 is, so we have lyrics for each song, it looks like. Sun Killer, Hurt You. Then we have sort of a transition with the sun and some sweet that looks like glaciers or ice almost melting. Yellow Jacket. Again with the having the barcode incorporated into the artwork is very cool. Summit, Secret Garden. Okay, then we have another transition here. Silk in the Strings. Holy Roller. So here's the first time I'm actually seeing the words. Holy Roller sits in the garden we fled, blood into wine, take my body instead. Holy Roller sits in the garden we fled, blood into wine, take my body instead. That's what I thought the lyrics were, but I never looked them up to see. There's some very cool different imagery in here of symbols. The artwork is awesome. This is probably the best packaging from a CD I've got this year. And I've got some cool things. I have a deluxe edition of a wow. Very cool. Constance, I think, is one. Okay, so where's the page where it has their information about who recorded what? That's what I was most excited about to see in terms of the book. Bear with me for a second here. Aha. Really interesting. So they have it kind of in the middle of the book. Maybe that's some sort of an indication that the tracks are separated in some way to different sections here with these sort of, maybe the first 2 tracks mean something, and then there's a section, there's a breaking page, like a transition page. Then we have Yellow Jacket and Secret Garden, and then another transition page. And I'm probably thinking too much into this, looking too much into this. But so here we have the liner notes here. It says, Eternal Blue was written and recorded in February 2021 at the Old Head Ranch in Joshua Tree, California, and Magenta Studios in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Produced and engineered by Daniel Bronstein. Co-produced by Michael Stringer. Mixed by Daniel Brunstein at the Hallway Studios in Woodland Hills, California. Mastered by Jens Borgen at Fascination Street Studios. All songs written by Spiritbox and Daniel Bronstein. All songs performed by Courtney LaPlante, vocals and lyrics. Michael Stringer, guitar, bass, drums. Zev Rosenberg, drums. Daniel Bronstein, drums. Okay. So Michael Stringer, guitar, bass, and drums. He probably is the one that does a lot of the writing of the music then. And then you have 3 different... Oh, no. Then we have Zen Rosenberg and Daniel Bronstein, both with drums. Okay, so I'm hoping the drums... there's the sort of breakbeat part in Holy Roller, where when I first heard the song, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this? A Prodigy song?" You know, you're hearing a little bit of drum and bass in there, and that was something I was going to get into too. Sort of the different feelings for the different eras of music that I feel like they're hearkening back to. There's definitely some like '90s feeling to the 2 songs I've heard of Spiritbox thus far. So I'm really excited. I think the production for this album could be absolute top-notch. Like, sonically, this album could sound better than any metal album I've ever heard before, and that is saying a lot, because pretty much all I do is focus on the sonic quality of what I'm listening to and the different production aspects and how different sounds are put together to create the sonic palette that you're hearing. And Holy Roller is one of the greatest sounding sonically, one of the best sounding songs I have ever heard in my life, and possibly the best sounding heavy song I've ever heard. There's a few other songs that really stand out, but like one of them is like a cool acoustic song, and one of them is a total electronic song, like 100% synth and 100% synthetic elements to it. Additional performances by Bill Crook, who had backing vocals on Hurt You, Yellow Jacket, The Summit, Secret Garden, We Live in a Strange World, Halcyon, Circle With Me, and Constance, so that's a majority of the songs. Michael Stringer, background vocals on Hurt You, Yellow Jacket, Silk, and some different... Sam Carter, vocals on Yellow Jacket, yeah, he was listed. Sam Carter appears courtesy of Epitaph Records, I assume, or the band Epitaph. All songs published by blah, 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 blah. Art direction, management... So one interesting thing that I see here is it says... All songs performed by Courtney LaPlante, vocals and lyrics. Michael Stringer, guitar, bass, drums. Zev Rosenberg, drums. Daniel Bronstein, drums. And then it has a couple different people listed. Art, management. Nowhere in here does it say anything about keyboards or programming or anything like that. So I don't know who to thank for that, and I'm really hoping that that doesn't mean that they have taken those elements that I was talking about earlier. Anything that you hear in a song that's not just drums, bass, vocals, guitar, that's obviously the core of the song. That's like 80% of the song for most songs. Could be 100% of the song for a lot of songs. What I'm looking for are the bands that utilize other things in their music to a good extent. Like, I'm not saying you have to feature keyboard solos and stuff in every song. I'm just talking about the sprinkles again. It's the little colorful things that you add on top of the song to make each song feel a little bit different. So the fact that there's no one in here listed with programming or MIDI thing or keyboards or synthesizers or anything like that is a little bit interesting to me, but I'm going to assume that the Holy Roller that's on here is the Holy Roller that we all know. So, wow. So this, as a product already, this is probably the best, like, most... Nothing's broken, which is great, because sometimes when I get CDs shipped to me in the mail, stuff gets broken. I have no other previous music to talk about. Usually when I do videos like this, I have like albums from bands and stuff or side projects. I have nothing from these people, so I really don't know what to expect other than having heard Holy Roller and I think Rule of Nines. So let's get into it. Oh, wait, before we do this, hold on. I forgot one more thing. Hold on 1 second. I got one thing I got to do. Look right here at the table right here. Okay, so for this video, I've got my cherry Kool-Aid ice in the bottom of my glass, and I'm going to go with a Mountain Dew USA. I've had this in the freezer for quite a while, and oh no, I'm in trouble. When you put pop in the freezer, sometimes this happens. So we've got to use the old school method to get the top off the can. Not necessarily super important, but I gotta have my beverage. There we go. Well, I'm listening for the first time. Well, there you go. Instead of having a pop, now I have a slushy. Look at that. So, what else can I do to put off listening to this album, huh? If you've been watching this video from the beginning, first of all, thank you. If you haven't and you skip to this part, just know, boy, I like to talk and ramble about stuff, don't I? Even still, here we are. I'm super excited for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. I'm also pretty apprehensive because when you have high expectations for an album like I have for this, those expectations can be, really, the heartbreak can be much worse when you have your expectations set so high and then it doesn't meet your expectations, or worse, if the album would turn out to be bad or disappointing. So I guess one thing I want to say before I get into this is, if these songs, one of the things that I love about music in particular is song structuring. One of the things I talk about the most is song structuring. Because Holy Roller and because the other song that I heard, Rule of Nine, I think, because those two songs didn't really have very stereotypical ABA structure. They had verses and they had a chorus, a very well defined and established chorus. I have hope that this album is going to have sections like that in the songs. Ideally, if I could have everything my way, every song would have a verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, and a chorus at least. I love going back to the chorus the third time. I think that's important. However, modern day music doesn't necessarily follow that trend very much anymore. Depending on the band, genre of music, different musical styles, and things like that. So I'm going to try not to let myself be too disappointed if the songs structurally are sort of all over the place. One thing that I do not want to have happen at all is I do not want to have... These people seem very creative musically, and they seem like they know what they're doing in the studio, and they have all firing on all cylinders to have everything going their way to make this a big album, I guess, based on all of the reactions, the hype building up to this and everything. I don't want any of these songs to fade out. And if you want to hear more about songs fading out and my disappointment, you will if any of these songs do fade out. But go check out my Wallflowers reaction on my channel here if you want to hear more about my thoughts on songs fading out and why they should never do that. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to hit play and we are going to listen to what may be my favorite album of the year. Will probably end up on my top 12 list. We'll see how high it ends up going, and I'll get more into that after the whole album is done and I can kind of look back on it. I am hitting play right now, and track 1 is starting right now. Oh boy, low frequency right in the middle. So right away, what I'm hearing is not drums, guitar, bass, or vocals, which are the only instruments that were given credit in the booklet. I'm hearing some synth pads on the outside. Okay, we have a delayed echoed effect with some sort of a almost creepy sounding synth patch of some kind. And that sort of doo-doom, doo-doom. Huge bass tone. Courtney's singing. I'm not going to be reading the lyrics the whole time. I may glance at them from time to time, but turn it up a little. Amazing. One single line of vocals, not overdubbed or anything yet. Everything we're hearing other than bass and drums is synths and stuff around, and I love that. A lot of atmosphere so far, just like I was wanting. So hopefully, okay, everything goes away. Nice little building part. Guitars coming in here, I assume. Sort of a nice laid back vocal this whole time. Very nice. Okay, this section here is lasting twice as long as I thought it was going to. That's really nice. I love it when artists will give songs time to breathe. Okay, whoa. Okay, so now the guitar riff that's happening right now is the same thing that's sort of like that percussive, almost like bass sound was doing at the beginning, that ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. So this song we have here, 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Okay, so the chorus for this song, at least thus far, okay, the first chorus was lower. Everything was taken out, more minimalistic. Second chorus here, everything comes in. So for the guitars here, we have them panned, or recorded twice, panned left and right overdub. Ooh. Oh, I love it. Oh, creepy, low pitch shifted vocal there. Okay, very robotic sounding voice there. Very staccato notes. Very similar to Holy Roller Sits in the Garden We Fled. The all singular note on the same tone. Oh, I love the to sleep part. That's very, everything is quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, eighth notes. Yes, okay. Okay, so I'm curious to see if they're going to go back to the chorus again here, or they're just going to let it be heavy and go out. That's what they did with the Rule of Nine song. So this song is usually a smart thing to do on an album like this is to set the tone right away. We've had the song start out for almost like a minute and a half without, okay, so they're not going to go back to the chorus again. So that song was structured just verse, chorus, verse, verse, chorus, chorus with nothing in it. Like, okay, track 2. Massive bass. Almost a little bit too much, I will say. Almost too much bass. Feels like the guitars could be turned up a little bit on this song, but there's other things happening that they want to, you know... Okay, screaming on this song with no guitars behind her. Screaming verse, minimalistic screaming verse. Well, there's drums, I guess. Then bass coming in here for the second part of the first verse. Right here, that's what I'm talking about. We have this droning happening. Ooh. This song sounds like it's almost in a lower register for her to sing, which is kind of nice. Felt very comfortable for her, but her voice was almost a little low there for being a female vocal, and that's nice. Oh, yeah. When I looked in the book, I was impressed with the amount of lyrics that they have for each song. Okay, I assume this is sort of a verse 2 then. Okay, chorus 2. Happy. Nice. The way she glided into that note there. Happy. So here her vocal is overdubbed at least once. Yeah, there's a harmony vocal over the top. Both vocals right in the middle, pan middle. And what that does when you have the vocals pan mono, there are some delays and reverb on it, and that is blooming out to the sides. But the guitars are doing a little bit more of a chaotic something behind there, a little more of a chaotic riff. And the movement in the riff can happen on the sides while still retaining the heaviness and the bigness. But it's not interfering or competing with the vocals that are right in the middle with the bass and the kick and the snare. Okay? So it seems like Spiritbox's thing is to have big, heavy moments sort of towards the end or the bridges of the song, which is awesome. If you have someone like Courtney that can do this, then they need to take advantage of that. And so far, the album's already been more, these first 2 songs have been heavier than I thought they were going to be. And I wonder how much pressure they felt there, having Holy Roller be the first song to come out. And set the tone, like I was trying to say at the beginning there when I was talking. Okay, now we have a high pass filter on her vocals. Sounds totally different. Maybe a little bit of distortion on there. That went away when the drums and everything came back in, guitars. Now, during the chorus here, the guitars, they're doing more complicated things, but there's not a lot of high frequencies to them. They're more like mids and lows. And what that does is it allows them to be more moving around the riff, not moving around the spectrum. But the riff can be more complicated and intricate and not be distracting, like I said, from the vocals, which are pretty much soaring. Whoa, went right into track 3. I did not expect that. Holy crap. Ah, yes. Oh, hear that electronic hi-hat that's going on. That really adds a lot to it, the percussive movement of it. Again, very electronic sounding vocals, just like the beginning of Holy Roller. Very unnatural. There's like a roboticness to them that's very unsettling. Could be some vocoders in there. And then there's again, the sort of filter sweep thing on the right. That was happening the whole time back there. And then heavy. I was so curious to hear what the riffs were going to sound like on this album. Okay, this is the song that features the Sam guy. Sam Carter. So the guest vocalist is doing the chorus here. Very interesting. This sounds like something. It reminds me of something. Okay, yeah. Big chugs. I really can't hear Courtney singing. I haven't really heard her sing anything since the beginning of this song. She might be in there doing some screams, though. But definitely the featured vocal here during the chorus has been the guest vocalist, the male vocalist. See, again, the guitars right now and the drums and the bass, all they're doing is these sort of like emphasizing. Okay, so the first three songs have flown by. They did not feel very long at all. None of them really were. Okay, so here we have our first sort of like non-distorted guitars happening. Courtney's vocals back. Ooh, really low note there. That was nice. I love that she has a lower register voice. I really like that. The amount of pressure that must have been on these guys while making this album, I can't imagine, but some people thrive under pressure. And so far, my only complaint would be that the songs feel too short, and I wish they would go back to the chorus the third time, which they have not done so far in any of the songs. Each song has only had 2 choruses. Oh, love this. So this song feels like it's almost in a higher register, or at least the guitars are not doing the low chugginess. They are doing some of the the bending on the strings. So it still feels genty. Love the vocal rhythm. Ooh, nice stop there. See the elements that are happening in the background here, the synth pads and things, they're all very reverby and they're very subtle, but I promise you if you took those away, the whole song would sound completely different. You're having the guitars doing what they're doing there, double tracked and panned. You're having the bass doing what it's doing in the middle with almost no high end in it whatsoever to compete with the vocals or anything else panned in the middle, the kick or the snare. The snare is in this song feels very nice. It's mid-rangey, not a ton of snap to it. But if you have a snare drum that has a lot of snap, a lot of crispness to it, a lot of high frequencies, that can compete with the vocal a lot. Especially if you have a female vocalist, or female vocals tend to have a lot more crispness in them. Obviously, depending on how you record and everything. Okay, and the vocoders are back here. The vocal effects. Very nice. I love that. That's sort of a signature sound that they have. Okay, so here we have the first time I think I've heard her doing some screaming overdubs with the clean vocal as well. So far, they haven't done a ton of overdubbing on her vocals. There have been some harmony vocals thrown in when she's singing choruses and whatnot. But they're keeping it relatively simple vocal-wise so that she can duplicate all these things live, which I'm sure they have huge tours planned, and I'm sure they're on them right now. It would be neat to see them live, but... man, these vocal runs that she has are very nice. I wonder if people will be reacting. I haven't been looking up Spiritbox at all, like I said, so the YouTube algorithm is not recommending me stuff from them very much, but I wonder if people have been reacting to this album the last week and to some of these songs. Really good singing here. A lot of singing going on. I would say that might actually be my favorite song that we've had so far. That was The Summit, track 4. Enjoyed that one a lot. Now we have Secret Garden. Okay, so we'll see what it sounds like. Track 5. Right away. Guitars, heavy guitars. I was thinking it might have been a ballad song. It's the songs have a very chaotic feel to them with the guitar riffs. And the massive kick, which is something I knew that this album would have to have because that's what Holy Roller had, the massive kick drum. Ooh. That is a bass guitar. So here we have sort of a, or it sounds like a bass guitar. Could be an octave pedal on a guitar, because I hear the bass still doing its regular bass line in the middle like it has been, mostly playing along with the kick pattern. But that sounds like a bass. See this, some of these vocals are almost reminding me of like Paramore or that sort of style. This song a lot more straightforward. There's still synths and things happening in the back, droning notes. But this time it doesn't feel creepy so much as it just makes everything feel thicker. A little bit progressive metal here, for sure, with that. Like I said, it sounds like a bass riff. Very cool. Great vocal harmonies here. She's got multiple tracks there doing 3-part harmony. Okay, the drummer switched over from the hi-hat there to a crash for a second. Felt like the song dropped back a little bit. This song, I would say, feels like the most straightforward. During the verse, they had that, which is definitely not just a guitar playing one line or anything. So there's something going on there with the way it was produced and mixed into the song. But the rest of the song, just a rock band playing a rock song. That's kind of nice. Okay, bridge. We'll see what it is. I will say with the guitar... Oh. So we have some sort of like drony notes on this on the left here. I'm hearing synth notes or a guitar. It could be with a lot of reverb on it. Love it. This is nice. They definitely have the wall of sound aesthetic happening here pretty constantly in every one of the songs. Little piano now. That's the first time I think we've heard an actual piano patch. A lot of cool vocal stuff going on there. Delays, effects, echoes. Very nice. Ooh, a little... little... synth line there, very nice. This is track 6, Silk in the Strings. This one's only 257, so this could be a heavier one. Those sort of like dissonant slides and string squeals and things. Sometimes you just can't help it. Yeah! Love it. Oh, and then... Oh, shoot. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. I love it. The disparate things that are happening here. The song with the whispering, the whispering that's happening. It just makes it, it gives it this feeling of like, oh no, 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 and then now here for this part. Yes. Oh, I love this. Oh, we need to rest for a second then. that guitar riff. That's how I wrestled a bear once. Oh. Oh. You can feel the granules in the distortion of when they hold those giant guitar chords out, those thick, chuggy notes. Oh, yeah, this is great. I'm going to be disappointed because they're not going to go to the chorus a third time or even have a bridge on this one. It's going to probably end after this part, knowing how short the song is. And just go back to the main riff with a little bit of extra triplets there in the notes. Oh, man. Oh. Here we go. Let's see how it sounds on an album. Wonder if they released this in 24-bit. Ah! Okay, so on the far left and the far right, just this it's almost like there's a ceiling there. So the band is playing, but then there's just this like ceiling of these like droning notes until now everything's gone. Now they added even more dissonant notes there. So it's this like creepy, like ominous ceiling of just like demonic. And then the guitars are just chugging. The bass, I can hear almost no definition in the bass whatsoever, but the kick and the snare are loud. Okay, now here's that drum and bass part I was talking about. The programmed drums that like, what are we all of a sudden, are we in Firestarter territory here? Are we back in 1995, 1996 with Prodigy? Now this time when they do this part, it's actually a different guitar part if you'll notice. The guitars are actually lower. I don't know if they're just playing the octave lower or just the genty like fourth below or what they're doing here. I was listening to this song the other day to sort of prepare for this. See all these sound effects and things happening here. It's brilliant. It is absolutely, utterly brilliant songcraft. You know, if you play this song on an acoustic guitar, it would probably sound stupid and like nothing, because what's happening, what's making this all special is the atmospheric feeling they're adding and all the sweet little tricks with the editing and the mixing. Now they're back to the original riff from the beginning of the song. I will definitely say this song sounds a little bit different sonically from the other songs on the album. So, like, makes sense if you told me this song was recorded at a different time, which it must have been. I get that. I feel that. Oh. You have created a metal masterpiece, Spiritbox. Okay, now we're on Eternal Blue, the title track of the album. Dear goodness. Oh. So here we have synths now that are doing this sort of wavy background sound, very low pass, a lot of delays and echoes on it to make it sound. Now the chaotic technical guitar riffs are coming back in. See, now here we're getting this juxtaposition, which I've heard on a lot of the other songs. it's the juxtaposition of her singing these very beautiful, lush vocal lines, and then over the top of it, the guitars are going like these crazy, chaotic rhythms that have these polyrhythms and this weird timing things in them, and it's this like technical metal prog feeling type thing over her singing this beautiful, lush melody. And it's an interesting juxtaposition. And I don't know if I particularly care for that. I definitely like what's happening here more, where the guitars are being simple and they're not the focal point. Because her vocal line here is just so nice. And with the drums and the kick now here on verse 2, and then the synth thing that's happening in the back, the ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. And then the guitars come in. And they're genting it up. Some nice little programmed drums in there, too. That was nice. Oh, I love that kick pattern there. Love that. Also, it's kind of ironic, her vocal there slow down, and then the guitars and the drums are doing that, like the sort of the descending pattern there. It's very nice. The music is sort of juxtaposing the imagery of what she's saying. Okay, here we're going to the sort of heavier bridge. I'll be interested to see if they go back to the chorus again or follow suit with what they've been doing. Basically, the bridge of this song changes. Totally, basically sounds like a different song. Oh, the guitar solo. Nice. It's reverbed in the back, in the middle, with blooming reverb around it. That's nice. Very cool little squealy stuff going on. I like it. Vocals coming back in. That's nice. This song has a bit more of a common structure then, or a typical, stereotypical structure. This is just awesome. Again, I cannot say it enough. The pressure that must have been on this band to make a kick-ass album, and they have done that. I can already say that. Really nice. Now, in the book, if we're following along in the book, this is where they had the credits. And then a sort of an extra page. And then going into We Live in a Strange World. Oh my gosh, totally dry vocal. Oh. See, how can you not have the person listed in the liner notes who created this? Because all you're hearing is her singing and then this amazing... I mean, this could be a Billie Eilish song. Oh. These like fluffy clouds sounding like backgrounds almost with her vocals are really nice. Oh. Oh dear goodness, those they have there they have a sidechain compressor on the kick, and everything else is just when the kick hits, everything goes up, and that all depends on the settings you have on the compressor there, the sidechain compressor. Oh. Amazing. Huge kick drum. This is great. I honestly, like, this probably blasphemous, but like I wish the whole album was like this. Just give me this for kind of thing for every song, and then for the chorus have the guitars and everything kick in. And then occasionally give me like a heavy thing. But maybe that's not true. Maybe this is special because the rest of the songs haven't been like this. Okay, now everything's in there. See, here now the guitars sound like there's a little bit more high end in there. They sound really nice here. A little bit more chunky. As opposed to just low frequency, giant enormousness. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention. generally one of my rules when I think about music is, or try to create music, whatever, you should always have the vocals match the intensity of the music. Now, whether that's intense in terms of like screaming for metal, or if the music is very emotional, the intensity of the emotion needs to be matched in the vocals or the song won't work. So a lot of the time when you have metal bands that play really super heavy, chuggy riffs, and then you have someone sing over the top of it, sometimes the singing intensity doesn't match or equal or surpass the intensity of the chugginess. And a lot of bands, metal bands, they'll have a chuggy, heavy riff for the verses, and then the singer will scream over that. And then when they get to the chorus and it's time to sing and everyone's going to sing along, the guitars are doing something that's significantly less heavy, less chuggy, more open chords, and just playing something that sounds prettier almost. And that formula works super good. There we have the sidechain compressor back. That was a very disappointing song because it was so short. That was the most disappointing song on the album. This is track 10, Halcyon. We only have 3 to go. That last song was so disappointing to me because I wanted it to be double the length. I don't have time to sit and listen to a song that's only half of an idea. I want a full idea. And I know I was talking the whole time, so I didn't really get to like fully appreciate it. And maybe I need to think about this album more the way I was thinking. I need to change my brain to think about the Yanov album I recently did a reaction to. I was disappointed with the structuring of the way that album was. And I understand that not everyone's making a song for me. Not every artist wants every song to be a 5-minute song. But when you have a really cool musical idea, I don't want to just hear it for 10 seconds and then have that musical idea go away to move on to something else. But again, I know that that's totally just me and my opinion. But that's why that song was so disappointing to me. There needed to be about twice as more of it. For me to truly appreciate it. And I forget what I was saying because that threw me off guard. Oh, the intensity of her vocals. I think she's been doing a fantastic job so far. And I think that there have been moments where her vocals didn't match the intensity of the music, but I think that was done intentionally to have a juxtaposed thing going on. I will say I'm surprised there aren't more vocal overdubs. Like there's stuff happening here, and there's almost like a secondary vocal rhythmic part there happening during the chorus here. Yeah, very nice. But the vocals aren't spread at all. They're pretty much, for the most part, kept in the middle or maybe off to the sides a little bit. Huge, massive reverb here at the end to have everything just sort of bloom off into the existence and keeping this sort of low frequency boom, 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 boom. Good, thank goodness they came back into this. See there, that felt like they could have ended the song right there and it would have been like keeping in with what the way the rest of the albums felt like. I'm glad they come back in even though this is a part of the song that we haven't had thus far. This is something totally different than what the song had been before. But at least it's still saying, hey, we're still following the same sort of musical train of thought, rather than just getting on a new train and going off in a different direction with a new track. Okay, so that just switches right over. Okay, so the way they're going from song to song just immediately tells me that they want me... Cool guitar riff. See, this is nice. Her vocals here are a little bit more... That was a cool riff. Her vocals almost like a pop vocal here. You could put it out and put it in front of like a Britney Spears song or something. Because I hear the vocals are a little spread out more. Yeah, that's a cool riff. See, now this song sounds a little different. Okay, the bass here a little bit less farty sounding. Tom's nice. Off to the side, dry, not a lot of huge reverb on him. But there is a lot of reverb happening in the drums with the kick. A lot of more vocal overdubs on her here. Just in the middle for right now, but during the last chorus, they were much wider. A lot of cool vocal stuff happening here. Very drier in the middle with her lead vocal line. Nice. Love it. This reminds me of something. The vocals remind me of something. I think some sort of electronic thing I'm thinking of. I don't know what I'm thinking of. Okay, now the heavy screaming bridge part of the chorus. Ah, yeah. Yeah. See, I feel like the bass is a little bit more contained in this one. The guitars have a little bit more crunch to them, a little crispier to them, and they're less woofy. This whole song feels less woofy to me and more high fidelity. I will think about these lyrics later. I don't generally focus on lyrics in my videos because what I'm listening for is more production, but there's some interesting things in these lyrics that I think would be fun to think about more later. This is the best song on the album. That's the best song on the album. Circle with me. All right, and this is it, guys. This is the last song. This is Constance, which is actually the name of my aunt. Her name is Constance. There's a lot of body to the snare, but the body is being created by the reverb. It's almost like a 80s gated reverb, but a low pass, so it's not too sparkly. So here we have the slow arpeggiated sort of broken chord on the guitar with lots of reverb. And it's spread wide. One track spread wide. Could be overdubbed. So then we have, that's also guitar in the middle. That's like a sequence part almost on the guitar. Yes, I love the droningness of this feel. There's some nice notes in there that are going with the chord, that are in the key, but a little different chords. Ooh. Oh boy, I love it. Where is it going? Where's the song going? This song's 4 minutes and 30 seconds long. By far the longest on the album, right? All the other songs are around either 3 minutes long or the 340, 350 mark. I love it. This is I love it. There's a lot of waviness to this. A lot of big reverb, cavernous sound. But her vocals are snappy and right where they need to be in the mix. The bass, I want to say the album could have had the bass toned down a little bit. I think they were trying to have it be a little bit maybe too much low end heavy. But I also I listened to everything on this machine, on my CD player here. Everything. But I do have a bit of a bass boost on this my CD player here. And I have never encountered an album in my 15 years I've been using this that I thought it needed to be turned off while I was listening. That to me is the best settings for this specific device to get the best sound quality. But, you know, I could turn that off and maybe that would be a little bit, the bass would be toned down a little, like I said. But this is nice, very floaty, the reverb on the vocal and everything. Okay, a little dissonant note there, wow. Yep, okay. Oh, there's some interesting vocal effects things going on there. A cool pattern. Slow, cool pattern. Oh yeah, now down to the low, chunky, djendy stuff. Massive. Yes. Chugging, droney, massive. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, they're retarding. Yes, retardando. Okay, and then all of the ugly evil goes away, the heaviness goes away. And we're just left with some nice, peaceful, you know, it's sort of glitching out in the background. Hear a little bit of her vocals in the background. Love that. So interesting to note that the album starts and ends on programmed synthetic stuff, and it was never credited in the liner notes. I'll look one more time to make sure. And that's it. Okay, well, I have heard the Spiritbox album, and life moves on. Life continues on. I'm debating if I'm disappointed or not. I don't think I'm disappointed because the album was what I thought it was going to be. I thought that it was going to be heavy parts, mostly singing. I definitely think probably like, I would say, with the exception of the two heavy songs on the album, it would be like 85, 90% clean vocal, 10%, 15% maybe harsh vocal. But if you include those two heavy songs that were in a row on the album, which is really interesting that they chose to do that. I wonder if it had more to do with the thematic, like lyrical themes of the songs rather than, and the ordering of the songs rather than having like a heavy song and then some like less heavy songs. And when I say heavy, I guess I mean vocals. Like the two heavy songs were obviously Holy Roller and the song before that, Silk in the Strings. They were both, for the most part, I believe, harsh vocals. So with those two songs in there, I would say the album still felt like it was 75, almost 80% clean to the 20, 25, maybe 30% harsh vocals, which is what I was expecting. I was not expecting the album to be even as heavy as it was, but it was heavy. All of the moments that were heavy in a genty sort of, almost I wrestled a bear once, but pulled back a little bit. The chaotic nature of the writing of the riffs and stuff, like the cool thing about Holy Roller was there were some cool, like there were moments where they were doing like the cool bends and things on the strings and the different dissonant notes, but the riff itself was still a groovy riff. It was ba-da-dum-dum, ba-da-dum-dum, da-dum, ba-da-dum-dum, ba-da-dum-dum, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-dum-dum. Like, it was a cool riff that you could like bob your head to. And there were other moments like that on the album, but I feel like a lot of the other heavy riffs were more like chaotic heavy riffs, like djenty, sort of mathy, prog, like almost heavy riffs. And that, with the clean singing over the top of it, is an interesting juxtaposition. And I think it's just sort of the style of the band. And having only heard the 2 songs from the band, and Rule of Nines was not on this album, so I don't know why. That's very weird to me. So now I'm almost wondering if there was some sort of a deluxe edition of this, and I'm pretty sure I looked all over the internet to make sure there wasn't a deluxe edition with bonus songs or anything, because that would be what I would want. But I just got this off Amazon, and it was just the copy that they had on Amazon. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. So the heavy moments I loved. In terms of her vocals, I think her screaming is amazing. I think she's really good at it. But like I said, my expectation was such that it would be mostly singing, and I was right there. The only thing that disappoints me about this at all, is the structuring of the songs. As I said, about maybe a little over half the songs. So there was, I think, 12 songs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 songs, and I would say 7 of them felt too short. Yeah, I would say that. About 7 of them felt too short. I think, and again, like I said during the video, I know that like it is my personal preference that I enjoy not necessarily just a longer song. You can still have a full, complete song, in my opinion, in 3 minutes. But I like to have the verse being the sort of, there's the opening of the song, then the verse is sort of establishing the feel, and then the chorus. I loved it in the first track where the chorus was everything went away, and the first chorus that you heard on the album was just Courtney singing, and then the guitars and everything came, the drums and the bass came in for the second verse, kicked up a notch, and then the guitars came in for the second chorus. That was really nice. And then they had the bridge, which was heavy, and there was some screaming, and then that was it. Me personally, I feel like what makes a bridge like that on a song, see, to me, that wasn't the bridge. That's the outro of the song then. I keep thinking of it as the bridge. But when you have a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a different part, usually with the music I like to, and the music I listen to, the music I like, it will go from that new part of the song, the new sort of third part of the song, if you will. It goes back to an established part of the song so that you can feel a bit of familiarity and then get some closure on everything that you heard before. It's like telling a good story. You don't want to tell the beginning and the middle and then a completely different thing and have it be over. You want it to circle back around to the beginning. You want to have that sort of circle theory feeling, the satisfaction of having everything come back around. Now, all that being said, I understand that you can take something and change it up and then have the ending, have it be jarring intentionally so that you are not ending it where you expect, so that it's different. However, when you do that a majority of the time, what they've done here is they've established that the formula for a Spiritbox song is verse 1, heavy intro, for the most part, heavy intro, verse 1, lighter, chorus, verse 2, much heavier, chorus 2, heavy, and then outro, heavy outro, and then that's pretty much it. And so when you establish that, I guess, when you approach the album with that in mind, and knowing that that's how the songs are going to be structured, I guess. But for me personally, I like to return to the chorus to have a mention of bring it back to something that's already been established and to finish it off like that. Maybe then go back to either the intro or the bridge, whatever was heavy, or maybe even a different part for the outro, and have that be the outro of the song. Rather than having the third part, if you will, the bridge of the song, be the actual outro of the song. So that's the thing that disappointed me the most with this album. However, like I said, the reason I mentioned that before I started listening was I kind of had an inkling that that would be how it would go. Holy Roller is like that. But with Holy Roller, they do go back to the sort of intro of the song, the stand to the left of me part. They do that. They do repeat that part 3 times. But if you'll notice, every time they repeat it in the song, it's different, slightly different. So it's an alteration of the chorus. And that's cool. I think that's just theme and variations. That goes all the way back to classical music and theme and variations. The parts in between on Holy Roller are different. So there's, that's sort of a differently structured song. But having that be their big like flagship song, I kind of anticipated them doing that more, having this structuring different. So for me, that's disappointing. That alone is disappointing enough to me to say that I do not think this is my album of the year. There's a lot of albums that have come out this year, and this album I wanted to be my number 1 album of the year, but in order for that to have been the case, every song would have probably had to have been 4.5 minutes to 5 minutes long, and basically just double up every section that they did. Have an extra section in there. I love guitar solos in metal. Not necessarily crazy like Slash guitar solos and everything. I don't need 5-minute long solos and things, but I do like to have a guitar solo section. So like, again, that's just me personally. I'm just thinking like, if I could have made this album, what could make this album like more perfect to me, or make it perfect. So that's the little disappointing side of it. The positives far outweigh that, though. I would say the production was really good all the way through. There were interesting things, like I mentioned at the very beginning. The musical sprinkles were all over this album. That was what I was really hoping for. Every single song, while the structuring may have been the same and the guitar riffs were not necessarily the same sounding, but they were all pretty djenty and maybe pretty technical. The things that were happening around the band, around the guitar, bass, drums, vocals, the things that were happening around it were all in the same sort of sonic palette. They were all being pulled from the same place, and they had the same sort of effects on them. A lot of the sounds were in the background, and they were very cavernous, reverby. Like I mentioned in Holy Roller, it really feels like there's a ceiling over everything, and the ceiling is just this sort of like droning effect almost. This like these dissonant notes, and as the song goes and gets heavier, there's more layers added to that ceiling that you're hearing. And that stuff is all really special. But like in one of the songs I heard, there was like a programmed hi-hat, so like a which wasn't the drummer playing the hi-hat. The drummer was playing like open hi-hats, I think, on the ones and the threes. But there was a and that was really cool. I think that made that song have a bit more of like an electronic feel, like a robotic feel almost. And that was really nice. And that's just one example. There were the last song ended with that cool little like piano played part almost. It wasn't a piano sound, but played part. The whole album started with that weird low frequency, like almost like a kick drum sound. And then the riff in the second verse, when it came in, the riff was that. So that was kind of almost a surprise to hear that. I didn't expect that. I'm sure you could tell while I was listening there, if you were paying attention, like I really like to focus on where I think a song is going to go while I'm listening to it, which I know can be a little bit disappointing. And I promise when I sit down and listen to this album in the future, which I will do a lot, I will pay more attention to the way the whole thing flows as a whole rather than each individual song. But I think that when you're talking about structuring and things like that and being able to appreciate all this, and like I said, the fact that I am trying to look ahead, like I always talk about listening to a song for the first time, that you're walking down a path, and I like it when the path maybe twists and turns, but I don't necessarily care for it when the path takes a complete right turn or left turn, a left angle turn, and I especially hate it when this path ends before you think it's going, before you get to feel like you've reached that destination. And I know that's kind of a weird metaphor, but that's one easy way for me to put it. And I feel like a lot of the songs on this album, I was walking down the path and the path just ended. to me, what's the worst thing they could have done would have been to fade out, which is where the path just slowly gets smaller and smaller to the point where it ends. And it didn't end at a destination. It's just in the middle of nowhere. These songs took you somewhere, but it wasn't necessarily where I expected. And it ended much more abruptly a lot of the times than I wanted it to. Production-wise, the kick and the snare sounded great. They sounded very consistent the whole time. I do think that you could tell that Circle with Me, I think was the best sounding song on the album. The guitars were a little chunkier and crispier. The bass was a little bit pulled back, I think, than what it had been. It was a little woofy the rest of the album. But Circle with Me and Holy Roller were definitely like the two. You could tell that they were a little bit different tonally, sonically. And I think that those were the two best sounding songs on the album. The song before Holy Roller, Silk in the Strings, I can't wait to listen to that one again. I need to focus a little bit more on that and more on all of these songs, obviously. But I'm really excited to do that. But I think that those two songs sounded the best, mostly because of, Holy Roller probably had the most in terms of the atmosphere and everything that I'm talking about. The song didn't rely on those things, but if you took those things away, you wouldn't really have a full song with Holy Roller. Most of the other songs on the album, if you took away everything except the bass, guitar, drums, and vocals, you'd still have a full song. There were a few sections where there were a lot of things happening, but you'd still have a vocal line and whatnot going through. But with Holy Roller specifically, I think if you took away everything, you wouldn't have nearly as compelling of a song. So a lot of the other songs were almost like Paramore was really a thing that reminded me of. And I'm not a huge fan of Paramore, and I was trying to think of other bands that it reminded me of. Courtney's vocals were sung in definitely her own style. She has a very sort of lush way she sings, in that everything sort of flows very nicely. Like having seen her sing in that video, like you could tell that she moves, she plays the microphone, she goes back, she does things like this. Like you could really see her like moving, and I can imagine her in my head when she's singing and she's adding emphasis, like doing these movements, and like that's what her vocals almost feel like they're doing. It's like a rise and a fall, and each word is almost like she brings it up. It's a weird way to say it. It's almost like she blooms a lot of words, like she goes into them and lets them so ring out. It'd be interesting to hear her try to do something that was much faster, and there were some more complicated rhythms that were happening in some of the songs, but it would be interesting to hear her try to rap a song, for example. Like, would she be able to do that? There's almost like a gentleness to her singing. But with that being said, I do not think, I was saying kind of towards the end of the album here while we were listening, that in my opinion, the intensity of the vocals always has to match the intensity of the music. And when you have someone like Courtney singing over such incredibly intricate guitar riffs and very heavy, like genty, low, crushing riffs, sometimes that can feel like the vocals aren't quite reaching the level that they need to reach in order to match the intensity of the song. I think that was the case a few times on this album, but I think it was done intentionally as a juxtaposition of those two different styles. But for the most part, when Courtney was singing, this choruses especially, when the guitars and everything would come in and be much bigger, her vocals had more layers to them, which makes everything feel bigger. And she was doing a good job of singing melodies and everything that was accenting the music very well. I don't know the process of songwriting for Spiritbox, if it was the songs pretty much for the most part written and made as metal songs, and then Courtney added her vocal parts after the fact, or did they write the songs on an acoustic guitar and Courtney have the songs all structured out vocally, and then they wrote the metal parts around the vocal rhythms, vocal melodies. I'm not sure how that would work. Based on how many things were in the songs that weren't necessarily just metal, or I would tend to lean towards the assumption that the songs were mostly put together and then she added her parts on top of them. Because everything was so heavy and genty and stuff, I don't know if they were all rehearsing together in a space, for example, and everyone was being very, heavy while they're coming up with these riffs and these drum parts and everything. I think it would be kind of odd for her to be there and to come up with the parts that she's singing while in that atmosphere. It almost feels to me more like the songs were sort of created like roughly, like laid out, structured, and then she came up with her ideas for vocals, and then all the sprinkles and everything were added maybe after the fact, or maybe to help her determine what kind of a tone she wanted to sing with. Her singing was pretty consistent throughout the whole album. There were a couple songs where I was surprised that she got as low as she did. So I'll have to go back and pay attention to see if I think some of the songs were in lower or higher keys. For the most part, I didn't really notice. I think most of the songs were in the same key or around the same key. So that's interesting. That can be hindering to a vocalist that doesn't really have a lot of range, but we know Courtney has range, and especially with her screaming, having the sort of more screams, the scream, like the yell, and then also the grunt and the growl, which is really nice. I didn't hear that very much on the album at all, so it must tire her voice out to do that, and they don't want to do that too much. There was never really a part where she just used that low growl voice and the really heavy guitar riffs. There were a lot of awesome rhythmic parts, and that was what I was hoping. That end of Rule of Nine, that end of the song where she's just like coming in, and it's a timing thing where everyone's coming in on a downbeat. There were a lot of really cool rhythmic moments like that. Some more like sporadic or chaotic rhythms that the vocal decided to go along with. So where you have a heavy guitar riff, instead of just going chug, 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 or chug, 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 they're doing more of like a chug, 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 chug. And Courtney would be doing her bah, 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 like with it. That's a terrible example. But that was great. Those moments were awesome, and they felt really cool, and they really stuck out in those songs that they were in. But again, a little bit different from probably the singing that came before. And then if that was the way you end the song without going back to the singing, it's kind of weird. It leaves me always wanting more. And with me personally, I don't feel that is a good thing. I don't want to listen to an individual song and feel like I needed more of it. I want every song individually to satisfy my need I want the songs to be satisfactory within themselves. And like I said, again, now a million times, I know that that's just sort of my personal preference, but that's how I feel about it. And I think that next time I listen to this album all the way, which I may listen to it just tonight because I'm excited to hear it again, I'm going to try to focus on it as each song is a movement in a whole, rather than each song is an individual piece of music, because the way that the songs connected together, which they did, I think 3 or 4 times, I didn't even know it switched over to the next track. I started to hear something and it was so different. I looked down to see how much longer we had left in the song. And I was shocked to see that we were already on the next track. So that happened several times, and I think that was nice. I think having the song lengths listed here was nice too, because if I had just been listening without knowing, like, okay, this song is 3 minutes long, I would have been expecting every song to be significantly longer than it was. But knowing, okay, this is just a 2 minute 40-second song, it's probably going to be a heavier one, or it's going to just end after the second chorus. And I was right when I was thinking that. So that's another interesting thing. Overall, I think the album was really great. I think that the packaging, this is the best album packaging that I have seen all year long. And I know a lot of people don't care about that, but I do care about that. And I think it shows the amount of thought that they were willing to put into this. And having the slip cover is really, really a nice touch. I think it'll be really hard for me to have this for a long time without breaking any of these little cardboard pieces out here, because it's pretty flimsy when the CD is not in there. But I'll be really, really careful with it and cherish it, because I know CDs are definitely going out of style. But that was it. That was Spiritbox's Eternal Blue, and I'm so excited that it wasn't bad. It was really good. And again, I understand that my sort of disappointment with it is all on me. Like, none of it reflects on them whatsoever, other than to say that maybe I think they could have put a little bit more length into their songs, but that's not what they were going for, and that's I just have to learn to live with that and appreciate it for what it is. So yeah. Thank you very much. Coming up on my channel, I have We Butter the Bread with Butter. I have that album also pre-ordered. I think that comes out either this Friday or next Friday. I'm really looking forward to that. I have the 2 previous We Butter the Bread with Butter albums, and I think Goldkinder is one of the best metal albums that I actually have. It's one of my all-time favorite metal albums. It is so good. So I'm going to do that, and then I have a couple other things coming up. Zeromancer has a new album coming out, and I just discovered a couple of new albums as well that I'm looking forward to. Lord of the Lost. Boy, a lot of German bands, huh? Lord of the Lost, and there's a band I just discovered that I heard a couple samples of, and I love the sort of twangy Western feeling of it. A band called Lord Huron, or Lord Huron. So let me know if anyone knows that band, if they think it'd be worth me checking that album out. Also have Star Sailor's 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary of when their debut album Love Is Here. That'll be coming more towards the end of the year, but I have that pre-ordered and I'm very much looking forward to that. So those are some cool things I have coming up on my channel. Thank you for watching this video. I have a Nightwish video that I just released last time, so if you want to check that out, just click on my channel and it'll be the first video up before this one. But that was, I went back through and listened to the very first Nightwish album, Angels Fall First, for the first time. I had never heard it, even though I've been a big Nightwish fan since I was in high school. Somehow I did not know that they had an album that came out before Oceanborn, so check that out if you want to as well. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I will say, because I know I said I was going to mention it, I do think that this album will be in my top 12 of the year, though I don't know where. And at this point, I'm thinking maybe somewhere in the mids. Maybe 6, 7, or 8, which to me is really good. Obviously, top 12 is good all around. But so, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. And to end this video, I think I can safely say I'm going to do it one more time for this. We did it. Okay, so the one last thing I wanted to talk about before I get to the album, and I have talked way too long. I apologize very much. Maybe I'll even cut some of that stuff out. I don't know. But the last thing I wanted to mention was the fact that they have a song called The Secret Garden. Secret Garden is a really cool and special property to me personally, and I don't know if the song has anything to do whatsoever with The Secret Garden, the book by Frances Hodgson Burnett, written back in 1911, actually. The book originally came out, so 110 years ago as of this year. But that book just so happens to be one of my absolute favorite books. When I was really young, I was born in 1986, and the 1993 version of the movie that came out was, and to this day remains, one of my all-time favorite movies, with one of my, if not my absolute favorite movie soundtrack of all time. I love the way that the different musical elements in that soundtrack represent different things. There are different instruments that represent specific flowers or specific locations in the film. I love the way that 1993 movie looks, the locations, the actors, Maggie Smith, of course. That movie is an amazing movie, I think, and I do think it still holds up. I watched it just recently this last year with my nephew. The 2020 movie version of The Secret Garden, the movie that came out last year, a totally different movie, but really, really interesting, and I think really good as well. Like, if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend checking it out. There's some really cool, surreal, almost midsummer, like surreal effects, special effects with CG and stuff in that movie that are really interesting and very unique. I don't know if I've seen CG in many movies like that at all. But I love the story of Secret Garden, and I love basically my whole life, anything that has to do with Secret Garden, I've always paid a special attention to. There was a Broadway play that I absolutely can't stand because I don't like Broadway very much, but that's pretty cool. I have the soundtrack to that. There was actually a band in the 90s, early 2000s called Secret Garden, which I recommend checking out if you are a fan of sort of Celtic music and classical music, but more digestible in smaller, shorter length songs for classical music. Again, the band Secret Garden, I'm not going to go on about them because I have 2 albums of theirs. I bought both of them for, I think, $1 at like a Goodwill or something once. Happened to find them, bought it, listened to it, was shocked at the quality of it, the playing, the musicianship, the amazing singing. It's kind of reminds me of like Nightwish if you took all the metal away, is a way to describe them, but look them up. But I have it in the back here. one of my copies of the book. This is just a special issue that was released by Hallmark not too long ago. But I just want to say I'm a big Secret Garden fan, and I know that's kind of weird because I think it was a little bit more marketed towards girls, but whatever, who cares? That kind of thing doesn't really matter, obviously, anymore. But when I was little, I just loved the idea of this big mansion with these secret pathways and all these cool things, and then finding your friends and all these amazing things. The themes of the book, and actually, the first paragraph of the penultimate chapter in this book, chapter 27, I was planning to read it out loud, but I'm not going to because I wasted enough of your time already. But I'll just say, if you've never read this book before and you are a reader, please, please, please check it out. Regardless of the kind of books you like, it is a classic for a reason. I think it is significantly better than something like A Little Princess, which is the story that's always by the same author, Frances Hodgson Burnett. I think The Secret Garden is way better than A Little Princess, and I know a lot of people love that movie, that book, that story, but there's just something timeless about Secret Garden that I really appreciate, and I don't know if the song has anything to do with it, but I was thinking, maybe if Courtney or the guys in the band are fans of the movie, which they're about the same age as I am, I believe, maybe younger even. I'm 35 right now. Hey, Google, how old is Courtney LaPlante?
32 years old.
32, so right around the same age that she could have been young and seen one of the movies. There have been several made, so I'm going to take a second here. I'll fast forward probably this. I'm going to read the lyrics to the song and see if I think it has anything to do with the themes of The Secret Garden, the book. Okay, so upon reading the lyrics for the song, I definitely could see a way that you could interpret it to have a meaning that fits with Secret Garden, the overall story. But I mean, there's a lot to it that's pretty universal. So we'll see when we get there if I listen to it. If it has nothing to do with it, I'm okay with that. I don't really care. I just, how many times am I going to get the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite books, a very different and not a very common book for people to say is like one of their favorite books or movies. So like I said, check out The Secret Garden.